And I got an HK91 in a half a paper bag. That's a vicious assault rifle for the community who doesn't know. And I have a wheel gun, 357 Magnum, over my shoulder and holster. And when I open the door, there's like 15 DEA and they're strapped. And it drew, they should have shot me. I mean, freeze, freeze, freeze. He's got a gun. I'm all, no, I don't. I never forget the thud of the gun hitting the ground. I'm like waiting for the impact of the bullet.
You know you're getting locked up. You know you're a good human. You've just been in bondage to the addiction, and it drives you to do things you don't want to do. There's always going to be a lesson to learn, even if there's no blessing. Now I just want to help and give back, be a part of the solution as opposed to the problem. I'm going to interview professionals. I'm an ex-convict. It's a play on words. Let's have fun with this. This is the Pros and Cons podcast. Hey, Holmes. This is episode 13. This is episode 13.
Oh, it is. Yeah, the homies. I'm with the homies.
Yeah. What's
Those
up
to the
south?
Yeah, you already know. Those are my boys.
Hey, you guys, what's up? This is Glade Pro, Branon Glade with Mark, David, Branon, Dago Mark, OG, coming in here by the grace of his own heart to tell his story. Episode 13, you guys. I'm stoked to have him. Mark, I like to ask everybody right away, what'd you have for breakfast?
Protein shake and an omelet. Yeah, and by the way, I appreciate you having me down here. This is my home turf again, back down in North County, and being from Encinitas as a kid, went to San Diego and grew up here and was totally into surfing. Thought I could be a pro. Actually, surfed pro events, and saw there was no money in it back then, but I was. I was like hanging with Todd Martin. I actually lived with him and his family right on the beach in Grandview for a while. And Todd was like the number 2 amateur, and Tom Curran was number 1 then. So I got, Tom Eberly, good dude, was lightning bolt, making my boards and stuff.
Yeah, Tom Eberly. I was just talking about him the other day. I went to junior high with his son, Colin. And
yeah, I remember Colin.
They got strongholds down at surf camps in Nicaragua, I believe.
Yeah, it sounds like Tom.
Soon as Mark and I heal from all of our old man injuries, we'll be down there on a surf trip. But anyways, yeah, Mark, so you grew up in Encinitas. You said your dad was military?
Yeah, he was. He was in the Navy. And worked with a lot of heavy military projects. He was, we were in a lot of foreign countries, Panama and stuff like that. And, he did some operative work for real that I can't talk about, but
I'm sure he can't either.
No, he can't.
Unless you're the right person.
Yeah, he was one of the guys in the MK Ultra stuff too. So
cool, man.
Which is like what they call Treadstone in the Jason Bourne movies. That's the MK Ultra project out of Harvard and a few other spots. But man, I love him, man. Him and my mom's still hanging on. 87. He's taking care of her. They're my rocks,
Amen. And are they still here local?
No, they've been living in Vegas for years.
Oh, okay, that's right.
When my dad was a notable author, he wrote some #1 bestsellers, New York Times Notable Book of the Year. HarperCollins came in and published them, which was a big deal back then, of course, and now. And, he liked the tax breaks and, no state tax in Nevada. And
totally.
And probably like most of us, just got tired of seeing what was going on in California with all the, overbuilding condos and greedy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, dude, I'm in Irvine right now, and it's like...
They don't call it the land of the fruits and nuts for no reason.
Yeah, no, to be sure. Yeah, but it was an interesting childhood, to say the least.
Yeah.
Being able to go live in the rainforest and stuff like that, and... and bounce around. I mean, I've been everywhere. When I got here, I think I was like 12 and a half and 13. And then we actually came and actually set up our camper. We drove out when Del Mar Skate Park was first opened and ended up building a new home in Encinitas. But it was cool, man.
That's rad, dude. It's really interesting to hear, like, so many of us have these little amazing pockets of memories. Like you said, you grew up, you had a part of your life was in the jungle down in Panama,
Everything moves, everything's poisonous. And it's like, it's gnarly, but it was like, I fondly remember the boat trips we would take. We had sailboats and stuff. And, we would just take off and just start going down the coastline and go out past the breakwater. We lived in the canal zone. We lived on the Pacific and Atlantic sides of the Central America at one time, Goleta Island. And, it was like you'd go out on a sailboat and you'd be looking in the water and it's just, there's tons of sharks, and you look at how the water's so clear, you think it's like 10 feet deep and it's like 60 feet deep. And Dad would My older brothers really did more of the heavy diving on the shipwrecks because they were older and I was little, and there was a shit ton of sharks out there. Like it was back when the ocean was full of wildlife more so.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the longliners and all these other scumbags.
Now, did you go to San Diego High School?
I went 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like legit. I would have to say that was the closest thing to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And it was funny because Todd Martin looked just like Spicoli. That was his nickname, Gluefoot, Spicoli. And for the record, when I got incarcerated for all those years, I went by Dago Mark because, it's kind of like more of a gangish culture like Dago. Well, but I went by Branon was my nickname on the streets forever. And everybody like knew me. I was kind of one of them surfers that was like one of the bigger. I'm not going to be self-aggrandizing. I was a bigger.
Tell them the truth.
Yeah, I was a guy that would scrap hard and go hard and protect the waves and protect. I got my older brother's ID when I was 19, and I was in nightclubs and getting down with whoever. But trying to get chicks.
You were doing it before you were legally the age to do it.
Yeah, boy, that wasn't the only thing I was doing. It wasn't legal, by the way. I got.
Well, yeah, let's talk about it. So at what point were you, like in high school, where you were starting to explore your entrepreneurial aspects of life?
Well, I was a hardworking kid. I was picking up jobs like moving furniture, Bruner's Furniture, John Bruner, old local from Encinitas. And, I was working for him, and, I was a fry cook down there, Captain Queernos, that place. And so, it was like, I see it closed down anyway. That dude's weird. But anyway, I worked there, and then I cut fins for the Bain brothers, Bain Surfboards. I worked up there.
Right on, man.
I worked at that factory for a while, inhaling fiberglass dust. They never really got on me about, hey man, you need to wear a full ventilator. I'm like wearing a paper mask for like a year and a half straight.
As you guys hear, that's why Mark has that amazing deep voice from years of being in the old Shape Shack.
Yeah, sucking fiberglass in. But yeah, I remember all the old dudes. Like I filmed a really cool piece up in. I have some private footage that's coming out of my personal website soon, and Gary Linden showed up, one of the legend shapers.
Oh yeah,
brought a bunch of boards there, and you guys will see it on my program.
What a legend he is!
Yeah,
too.
He's cool, man.
Still
Gary Linden, Gary McNabb. I mean, those are the shapers that the thrusters, the three fins. They came in real heavy. McNabb was doing it, with Nectar and stuff like that, but. Encinitas Surfboards, got to give a shout out,
for sure,
Mark,
man.
John Keys, all them dudes,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's such a dying breed.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those, like you're saying with Captain Keno's, like these are institutions are no longer. Now I get it. Buildings get old, they get dilapidated, roaches, like they're just going to collapse in on themselves.
Yeah.
They just. That's that time. That's how I feel about like that last strip where Encinitas Surfboards is, and even my home surf shop, offshore surf shop, and Wits, Carlsbad Pipelines. Like those two buildings in particular, they're just old. So you got to pay homage, and then all the great shapers of all of North County, man.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, from right down the line,
from Bird Rock all the way up.
Yeah. I mean, my first board when I got here was a G&S Gordon and Smith.
Yeah, dude.
I had a Gordon and Smith single fin Stinger. But I had actually got in the water in Panama, but when I got here, it was, in Panama, you go to the beaches.
It's raw, dude.
If you go to any beach on a military base, it's full on shark nets. And we're like 10, 11, 12 years old, paddling out and looking and swimming down. You just see like 13-foot hammerheads and makos. I mean, it's just so sharky down there. And, I never,
And you came up here and you're like,
Yeah, I didn't think it was much of it, but
I mean, we got the men in gray suits out there, but Panama and those areas, you got leopards, tigers,
caimans,
and then the
baboons,
crocs,
panthers. Yeah, no, it's that rainforest is no joke. I mean, but it got me used to being, like we'd go out with our machetes, me and my two brothers and my dad. And we just start hiking into the rainforest. We get our machetes and cut a lean-to out of pond fronds and make our own stuff, whip mosquito netting over it, cook out. And those fertile ant snakes down there are sick, dude. They climb trees. They're tree vipers. And we like to climb trees, so like most.
It's a whole other story,
you get right to a split in a branch and there's like a fucking fertile ant and you just got to release and fall and break your neck.
Dude, it's because it's going to make you.
Yeah,
that's crazy. So I want to talk about too how, you started getting into, it was really the Wild West when you and some of the homies I knew from Carlsbad were going down to surf like Baja and Oaxaca and mainland and
Yeah, actually,
Zicatela.
Scott Chandler was, we used to be really good friends, and he was the first one that I went to Puerto Escondido with, with that, like that was just, I'll never forget that trip. It was just unbelievable. It was huge swell. And, and then, later, like in my life, like right before I got indicted, I had been living and building and working, in real estate, building my own houses and renting them in Cabo San Lucas, and it's just an amazing place, back
Yeah.
then. It's kind of douched out right now. It's like all the celebrities like, yeah, Cabo. And I'm
Yeah.
like, and even now, like
As soon as I went to Cabo and saw like an Audi dealership, I was like,
yeah, it's changed.
there goes the charm. It's all westernized. There's a Costco there,
Yeah,
which is cool. I get it. I'm not downplaying it, but
it's not like
there was
it
something
used to
cool
be.
about that raw. Because you're a little bit older than me, but I was lucky. My older brothers brought me down to Baja, and I started probably when I was like 9-10 years old in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
And then through the 90s, man, it was just raw. But you also saw it was like everyone loves it down there. So.
Yeah, my photo album is just full of surf. Like Tommy DeSoto, he's another like Encinitas local, and Tommy was one of them. Him and Sonny Miller, rest in peace. I heard he passed when I was gone, and they'd just be my photogs, and I'd be like, hey man, I had a ton of money back then from smuggling, and I was like, just stay in the house. I had a couple mansions, a really nice one in Cabo, and they just stay at my places. Like a lot of pros, like I was really close with Trevor Christ, and
Trev, love you, buddy.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man.
He helped me out a lot when I was kicking heroin.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
His parents, Pat and Dan Chris, unbelievable people. Rest in peace, Carson. Man, he was like a son to me, and man,
yeah.
I mean, I lost my only son too, but he was like losing one of my.
Well, before we start getting emotional, because we're going to get to that, Mark, I want to talk about at what point did you start seeing the money in? You're like, oh, dude, like that's just weed. We can start pushing some weed, because you're already buying houses and investing.
I got into the coke business early in my life. I mean, I was in high school and it was like, and I hadn't even really smoked weed or anything until I was like 16, 17, which is like you're old now if you're. And I a couple of my friends were they were gophers. He's dead now, Mike Belcher, one of my great friends, James Conlon, and they worked for a couple big smugglers that lived in Rancho, and so next thing you know, I'm like helping them, like, hey, we got to go scrape some bags, and like we're scraping like 30 bags that had kilos in them and piles of coke, and I'd never even done this stuff, and Matt's back when coke was real, and man, I ended up working with some guys like. Everybody knows so many businesses in the surf industry were started with drug money, and I'm not going to name who I was working with.
Oh yeah, I used to skateboard for a company that was started with drug money.
Everybody.
It's Southern California, man. Like
it's cool.
Nowadays, it's different because there's so much money. Well, not so much, but
back then
you have real investors. But back then, the real investors were from the alternative market.
No, for sure. And the thing is I started like kind of like rebelling against my family. My dad was overseas a lot on these missions he was doing, and he was gone on a Westpac cruise once. He was stationed on the USS Prairie down in San Diego, and it was a destroyer tender. And then when he was gone, my mom was running the house, and I was like, I got tired of being in the greatest family. Like my mom's the best cook, and I mean the most structured household ever. Like. Best parents you couldn't make up
for
better.
Sure.
I mean, three cooked meals a day. You better be here. The house spotless. My mom's like me. She's like so clean. And then right before I turned 18, I was like, look, I'm not doing anything you're saying. I'm already kind of like slinging coke, like on the side. And I got my shit stashed at one of my bro's houses in Leucadia. His parents had a sick ass house on the hill, and I was like, I'd already, had some money saved up. So I said, one day I was like, hey, I'm done, moving out. And I moved out right before my 18th birthday, went to La Costa. And, back then La Costa was cool, man. Like,
that was another place. There wasn't all those lots. It was empty still for the most part.
And that's a place that was mobbed up back in the day. And there was a ton of coke money. Like back then there was what's called the North County 98 indictment dropped. And that's when a lot of the older guys from me all got clipped, right? I just missed that one. and I was living in La Costa, and they got some Peruvians and shit. Anyway, so the coke was flooding in North County.
Yeah.
Now at this time, like I'm going to the distillery, I'm going to Surfs, I know Diego's. I'm like, I got my ID, and I'm going to the bars that all the grown-ups are at, you know, down the Crank Inn and the old,
For sure.
Belly Up, whatever. And you know, and it was a fun time, man. Like I was out of my mind. I mean, what happened was I saw the movie Scarface, and it kind of screwed me up a bit. I was like, damn, I kind of want to be like Tony, but I'm more like Manny, the guy that he kills that hits his, you know, bangs his sister. But
Yeah. Well, Manny was a little bit more like, had some kind of a heart.
yeah, plus he had some swag.
And he had some swag where Tony was just burn it all down.
Yeah.
It's only me at the top. Yeah.
But believe it or not, that movie kind of influenced me. And so surely enough, I began amassing back in the day when you could go to the, you know, the Del Mar Fair, to the gun show, and just buy any fucking assault rifle, any kind of weapon. And then 3 tables down, well, there's the selector's, you know, switch to make that HK91 full automatic. I mean, it was loose in those days. And
yeah.
So I amassed.
I don't think a lot of these youngsters that'll probably watch this knew that, like, before the California state laws. Like,
I used to go to Elfin Forest right behind La Costa before it was even developed.
Oh, and just light it up.
Take the heavy shit out. I'd go to Shooter's Emporium in Escondido.
Yeah.
And then I'd shoot the small stuff, and I'd take my 308s and my big stuff, 458 Magnums out there, and set up like a.
That's when it was still country too. It's
Yeah.
it's really sad. Like now that you just real quick was like, we remember going out there to get spooked because there was like a loony bin in Elfin Forest, whether it was real or not.
No, it was beyond that. So I'm out shooting one day. Remember they had the cross on the hill.
Oh yeah.
And those guys were like, they were like cultists, but it was Mike Metzger's people. It was from what I understood, you know, it was you know, the skinhead movement and all that, and you know, which that's not. People look at me and they're like, damn, I just did some hard prison time, you know, and they, you know, like I know a ton of those guys, and you know, I don't carry myself like that, because for real, like a ton of them aren't really doing what they're saying they believe in and all that. And I'm not really.
You and I had that conversation.
Yeah,
like
we did
weeks ago.
Yeah, and I was more like, you know, I'm a white boy, you know, and I'm going to represent my race to the fullest, but I've never been like so rigid and stuff that to act like that, you know. I mean, I get it if that's you want to be a separatist. I mean, I understand if you want to be a separatist, but to just go out and flat out, you know, do crazy shit to people, and you know, and you know, like run up to people and their children are with them, and you know, I mean, I'm just I just don't believe in that. I believe in treating people with respect, and you know, and not really, especially not doing things that make kids sorrow, you know, go into a sorrowful place.
But so you're saying that you're going out there one time, you're going into a story.
Oh man, so I'm out there in Elfin Forest. I got all my guns lined up.
Mark and I have that in common.
ADD. Yeah. So from being in the box too long. So yeah, man, I went out there, and then one day, man, I'm in there and I'm traipsing through the woods with one of my friends, Hans, and you know, and I had an assault rifle in my hand. These dudes just whipped out behind the trees. Hey, fucking drop your weapons. I'm like, I thought they were cops, but then upon further inspection, I knew they weren't. And they
were like the property owners or something?
They were the ones from that cult where the cross was, you know. And
gotcha.
They're like, hey, you're on private property, man. What are you doing here, man? We fucking next time we see you up here, you know, you got a gun, we're going to shoot you. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm a kid, you know, so I'm like kind of scared, kind of rattled a little bit before I really got into being a man, which happened really early in my life, by the way. But it was, it shocked me. Yeah, it shocked me that was going on there. But in a way, I wish it was still like that. Man, I wish there wasn't all these condos built everywhere. And,
yeah, dude.
Know.
And that's everywhere too, Mark. Like I know you're living up in Orange County right now, but you just see like any parcel of land that was just a nice dirt lot or something is just, you know, it's just part of change. Okay, so at what point before the big story, because the heat was on you before the big story, right?
Yeah, I was doing the coke thing and moving coke and stuff, and that was back when Brewer Surfboards was in Encinitas, and there was an individual that used to be linked to that who's a cold rat, and it ain't Dick Brewer. I know Dick really well, but anyway, so one of the guys that I was slinging with, you know, he was like this pretty boy named Curtis Croft, and he was down there, and he was in La Costa, and so he went into one of the guys' houses that was affiliated with that company, and started bragging about, oh yeah, I know Branon, man. Oh yeah, man. I don't have any shit now, but I can get it from him. And just talking about me to someone that was wired, and then the cops followed him right to my house, and he drove by, and I wasn't there, but that was enough. And then they came and raided my house, and I was at that time living with a really beautiful girl from Carlsbad High named Jackie Oriostegi. And funny, I looked her up. She's living back east now. And so we were living together, and so they came and raided the house. And dude, I just left Shooter's Emporium. I literally walked at a 3-story condo. I pulled underneath like this garage, and then there's 2 stories above it. And the garage has the steps going to the house. And I swear I'm walking up the steps. And it reminded me of a Stephen King novel. You had the outline of the door and light. And I smelled cigarettes. And I'm like, I don't smoke, man. What the fuck? And I figured one of her whore friends was like smoking in the house or something. So I said, fuck it. And I got an HK91 in a half a paper bag. That's a vicious assault rifle for the community who doesn't know. And I have a wheel gun, 357 Magnum, over my shoulder and holster. And when I open the door, there's like 15 DEA and they're strapped. And it drew, they should have shot me. I mean, freeze, freeze, freeze. He's got a gun. I'm all, fuck, no, I don't. I never forget the thud of the gun hitting the ground. I'm like waiting for the impact of the bullets. And I got took down, and I got a case. I was slipping. My money was all that, 130 grand in cash. And I had like a quarter pound of Coke.
Which back then, that's a lot of money. Dude.
Well, it was more than that, actually. But you know how they write it down. But
yeah.
But there was a shit ton of weapons in the house. I mean, I had everything from Mac 11s to fucking HKs to, you know, you name it, I had it. And I had them hidden everywhere. Like I said, Scarface kind of had me thinking, yeah, man, I'll shoot it out with whoever. And anyway, so I go there, and, you know, back then it was before the Sentence Reform Act of 86, so you couldn't even get any time for drugs. I mean, they gave me like a 2-year sentence, you know, and I thought it was the end of the world, you know. But when I went in, that's where I met my connections, big ones. And I went I went to MCC San Diego, and then, you know, I had no time, and they sent me to Boron Federal Prison Camp, which was
old Boron,
bro. That place was a country club, man. Swimming pool, weights, everything. I mean, now if you see guys in those facilities, they're all rats.
Yeah,
I mean,
Boron's. What was the one that shut down? It's off the 395.
Yeah, it's Boron Federal Prison Camp.
Yeah, it shut down though, right?
Yeah.
Because that one's on the way to like Mammoth.
Yeah, they made a big thing about it. It's funny because they did a movie called Club Fed, and the guy Seth Elmer that wrote the script was in Boron with me, and I happened to be on a movie set in L.A. with Tommy Soto, the photographer I mentioned earlier. He's working as a DP with the film, and then the lady that Ruth Lander, she's the Audrey and Judy's mother. She ends up, you know, it's called Club Fed anyway. So she ends up putting me in the movie. I'm all over that movie. They're using my convertible 560 SEC. Like, I'm right back in business. I'm home and I'm slinging bigger than ever before. Like, I've got connections. I'm dropping planes in Palm Springs full of weed. Yeah, dude, got my own pilot. Like, from guys I met in prison, or, you know,
yeah.
And when I got out, and
PhD in criminology.
I never stopped. I was doing that a month after I got out, 2 months.
Okay, so at what point? Because I know there's so much of it, and you know, you guys, like I told Mark earlier, you
never get it all in.
We won't get it in the hour, but we're gonna try.
Yeah.
Did you start going to like, all right, California's a little hot? When the Arizona transfer?
Well, I was, you know, like I said, I was moving, shaking, missing fucking cases like by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I mean, just, you know, just so many close calls, and I had some good weed connects, and now I'm moving 500 to 700, 800 pound loads of weed while I'm on parole back east into New York, you know, and that's when I started seeing, hey, you can make a lot of money slinging weed to the East Coast. So I do that. I told you about, they did a reverse sting, tried to set me up with my cigarette boat. You know, the DEA was on me, never caught me. And I'm like, yeah, I got 2 houses, one they know about, one they don't. And so I started getting big. And then once I got off parole, I reconnected with some dudes and kept working back east. And then the heat got heavy after a while. Like, everybody knew, because remember, oh, Branon this, Branon that. And now, you know, I'm going to nightclubs with like Helmerson, Jeff Helmerson, that's my good boy from Dago, you know, Mike Jacoy, a bunch of OGs, you know, and then we're going to the nightclubs, and you know, we're fucking spending that money, driving flashy cars. You know, I caught an attempted murder in a fight on a bouncer in Surfside, and I got grabbed for that, and that was the only time I was arrested after I got out. But I beat the case because the guy lied on the stand. And it kind of surprised me because he's a really known Sereno. I'm not going to blast his name out right now because I love my Sereno homies, but that dude, he's from Eden Gardens. And he just kicked the wrong stall door in the bathroom. And I was snorting some blow with my boy Danny Quinn, who's one of the toughest Irishmen ever. He's fucking like the most productive athlete out of San Diego, played for Notre Dame, just a blockhead. I met him because I fought him. He was like always wanting to fight the toughest surfers, and we got down, and then there was some respect after. But yeah, and I got, I just beat that dude almost to death in the bathroom, and he started it, the bouncer, and then they arrested me, and luckily I beat that case. And I had to pay a lot of medical bills, like 30 grand. I paid him off the record, and his face, he seemed to hit everything every time I hit him. But so I had that case, and I was just getting too hot in the area, and things were getting big, and I was,
Do you think you got to a point where you just didn't care, like you felt untouchable almost because the money, like you were just, it was coming?
Yes, but I vowed after my first case that I would never get caught again, because I got caught with drugs, money, and guns on that first coke case, and I've never been caught with drugs, money, and guns ever again.
Because I know I got to a point where maybe it was different because, I mean, at scale, my story was more, I was just a violent dope fiend. I wasn't making any money. I would be the one that glad to come take you with the big Samoan homies,
I did some good collections.
And not just the Usos, but some of the Sureños too. But I was also down with a lot of the Bloods and the Crips and Oceanside. But I got to a point where I was so far in there with, like, the only way out was either, I was never suicidal, was going to be death by cop, and or doing life, catching a case was the only way out, So did you get to that point where, the money was good, and, you're a big, strong dude too. So it's like,
I'll be 62 years old in a couple of weeks, but when I was young, I was on hubs.
Mark will still get it
I was boxing down at Hamels, and,
you could handle yourself, and you're a big dude, like athletic guy.
I was just like, I never really, I grew up boxing in the garage. I had an older brother that was really tough, Steve. And I grew up, just always fighting, and then in the water. And then, I just grew up fast, man, going to clubs. But what happened was,
but at that point, like after you whooped dude and you kind of cleared the case, but the heat was on, did you feel like, you're like, whatever, I can do this
now?
The
cops already knew about me. I mean, they were trying to set me up all the time. I mean, like, they would literally, I would have like 1,000 pounds in a house, and I had a whole new crew. I'd moved to Escondido. I had a badass crib by Lake Hodges.
Nice. Yeah, there's some really cool pads out there.
Yeah, and there's this legendary drug agent, Ken Davis. Like, he chased me for years, and he would literally, like, I would find out, I got word they were going to hit this house, and I would get to the house and clear all the weed out like the day before, because you just kind of know. I got stopped at the San Diego airport once with my friend Troy, good friend of mine, Troy Feinberg. He's in Cabo, and they arrested me at the counter. And when they're driving me back, I got 40 grand and hundreds on my tennis shoes. I got 2 ounces of chronic in my volleyball shorts that have the netting in them. This is how close I got.
The old sewed in chonies.
Yeah. This is how close I got. This is how close I'd be to catching cases. And they got me in the back of the car, and they're driving me back on the 15 on the backside. And my house was right. What's that? The exit off where the mall is in Escondido. I've been gone so long. Crown Valley. Maybe.
Is it Crown Valley, Pomerado Road?
Yeah. So you get off there, and when they get off that off ramp, I'll never forget, because my stash house is to the right, and it's loaded. It has 1,300 pounds of weed in it. But they're taking me to my one house to the left. They go left, and I'm like, whew. So they drive me back. I had like a 3,500 square foot home, acre and a half, fucking artwork, loaded. I mean, I was living like, I had $1 million crib back then, which was a lot of money in escrow.
Hell yeah.
And they came in that house, and they're loading all my cars up. There's so many cops. There's like 10 cars in my driveway. That's how big the house was. Had electric gates on a cul-de-sac. Long story short, they never pat me down. But they pull out a tape, because I was fucking with the Arianos at that time. That's who I was getting my shit from.
Right.
The Ariano Felix guys. And they don't find nothing, and they're tearing my house up. And kudos to Ken Davis, man. I mean, look, I want to have it one day. I want to have that guy on a podcast and just like, hey, man, how was it chasing me around? I think it'd be cool, because I'll never be in the business again.
It's mutual respect at this point.
It's like, and you know why I respect it? Because that day when there was a safe, my house was clean. I saw him in the cul-de-sac before they grabbed me. I saw a van with Florida plates. The lid was up, classic. And it was like parked on the corner next to the house next to me, which was another mansion. And I thought they had company. But one day when I drove by, I seen people moving in it through the windows, even though they were tinted. I went, fuck, I got heat. So I played it off, came back, cleaned my house out. I had like $1.5 million in there. I had ledgers, I had a firearm. I got it all out of there. That's why when they grabbed me at the airport, I knew that I was being watched.
Yeah.
Like I caught it. And so what happened was they took me there. They didn't know about the other house. And when he went to let me go, he literally called my lawyer, piece of shit, Sheldon Sherman, who on this last case we're going to talk about, the one I just did 22 years on, he was my attorney still to that day. I call him, I tell him, hey man, hey Sheldon, man. Anyway, I'm leaving my house. They don't find nothing. So Ken Davis takes me to the van. All my cars are gone. Everyone's split. He goes, go ahead and call Sheldon. I go, I need a ride, dude. I can't get out of here. I'm an Esco. And I go, well, I'm stuck out here. I'm a car. You took them all. And he goes, oh, let me let you hear something first. And he puts the tape in, and it's me and one of the Ariano guys fucking talking about the guy's trying to give me like 100 keys of coke, you know. And I'm like,
movement.
Oh yeah, but they only got the tape because that guy's got grabbed and escaped from the cops while he was in custody in Newport Beach, crawled out the chimney. They're trying to get him to set me up. Super gnarly story. Anyway, he keeps calling my old pager because I have like 900 grand of his money, so he's not going to set me up.
Oh yeah.
And when one of the cops goes outside for the second day, and one of them's on the couch, fell asleep, this dude snuck out the chimney, crawled down the hill in Newport. No shit. Like my movie's going to be insane. And he fucking flees down to Ensenada or TJ and calls me. My friend, they got me. You need to go. They want you so bad, my friend. I said, what? Slow down. They what? And he tells me this story, and I'm just like, fuck. And he goes, please bring me my money. And I go, yeah, no problem. So I throw it in my fake wall, my Suburban, take it to him. Like, man, I was just always in the mix. But that tape, they would have got me if they had him. It was clear conspiracy.
Yeah, yeah.
But he got away,
and he
plays
both sides of that tape.
Yeah, and he plays the tape. So now we're in the van, and I go, can I call my lawyer, man? Because he's being kind of cool. You know, I'm like, hey, man, this is just business. And so hey, Sheldon, yeah, what's up? You know, Sheldon Schillingman. And he, yeah, what's up? Hey, Ken's like, I got Mark Branon here, and he's like, what? I go, hey, Sheldon, man, they just hit my house, man. There's nothing here. I go, meet me at the fish market. So the guy drops me off at the fish market. I literally go in the restaurant, tell Sheldon, hey man, take one of my shoes off. Hey, here's $5,000. He goes, yeah, here's $5,000. Go find out what the fuck, where's this heat coming from? You know, he's my crooked lawyer. And he goes, I go, yeah, look what else I had. I pull out a big old, you know, sealed meal full of weed. He goes, you're the luckiest guy I ever knew. And I go, yeah, right. You know what I mean? But so
for now,
yeah. So after that happened, I cooled down like I always did. I would go to Cabo, hang out for about 7-8 months, let everything die down, switch houses. Like I was moving every year and a half. Yeah. I'm moving. And I never had a home phone line for 13 years. That's how I never got caught after that. But until this case.
Yeah. It's crazy when you say, when you get rolled on, you just know, like, so my last run, when I say it was like, we were all tweaked out, but it was like a very eclectic mix. It was 2 Samoan homies. Actually, one identified more. His dad was Tongan, his mom was Samoan, and his cousin was all Samoan. And the Tongans identify as Crips. And then my other crimey.
Yeah, I was locked up with a bunch of them, dude.
Was a Samoan blood, but they were cousins, whatever. Just big monsters. And then our driver was a Soreño. And then there was me, you know, and they're all Oceanside guys.
Kind of an eclectic crew you got there.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I wouldn't bring anyone's attention.
Yeah. Well, what are you guys hanging out? You know. Sure. Anyways, so real quick, what you were saying when they rolled on you at the airport, it's like you knew that we had just finished probably about 24 hours prior doing a home invasion on a drug dealer. That was our big Robin Hood. Like, we're not going to do home invasions to innocent people's homes. We're going to go rob people for their drugs and drug money.
They're in the business.
And we know that, you know, and look at you guys, we're not glorifying any of this. We're just telling stories of for any in the peanut gallery get happy. We knew that, like, there is no rules in the streets and in the black market. We might think there's honor amongst thieves or that, but as you know, there's plenty of rats. It just never ends, the cycle. So there is no rules, right? Like once you want to go to the dark side, evil will cannibalize evil. Case in point. So we finish up with the job. Well, we obviously up through the night. I'm nervous to go home because I heard that the buzz was out that they think they know who it is on the streets, not to law enforcement. And I get a phone call from this dude who's now dead named Butch. Butch is like, hey, homie, I think they heard you did a hit on so-and-so's house. And yeah, man, you know, I think they want to handle that. I'm like, cool, I'll handle it in the streetwise as long as the cops aren't involved. Case in point, we go back to the homie's house in Oceanside, and as we pull in, mind you, I'm out of my first term, so I'm still on parole. We're pulling down a street and like sitting low in the car, and like I finally pop up from laying down in the back seat because I'm so paranoid. There she is. I forget her name, but it doesn't matter. It was my parole officer and some other guy.
Oh, fuck.
And we pull and we go to, obviously without saying names, to the Simone homie's house. And right there, my heart sank. And I was like, I know that this is. So anyways, we're kicking it there for a little bit. And I'm like, you know what, man? I just want to go home and get some sleep. This was probably around 5 o'clock the next day. So this was like more towards fall and winter because I knew it was already getting dark.
What a terrible come down this is about to be.
Oh, well, so, and right there, I'm living right there at the cul-de-sac in Carlsbad when there used to be a barrio where it dead ends right there. So long story short, I tell them, I go, look, you guys, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to come down from this roller coaster ride, smoke some weed and, you know, drink a little bit of whiskey. And so I leave from Oceanside to Carlsbad. And I remember finally getting home, and I was renting this little ADU that was like a loft behind my friend's house. And I remember getting in there and go, oh, dude, I think I got one more cigarette in my center console. So I'm going to go grab it. So I remember walking out. I had a Expedition at the time. I remember kind of leaning in to grab the cigarette, center console. As soon as I popped up, like 9 cops popped up from out behind cars because I just counted them all. I just put my hands up, but I lit my cigarette first, right? So I can get a little bit of medicine because I already knew where this was going. But like you said, right then and there, I knew that there was not just seeing them, but it was just like I felt the heat and it finally caught up with me. And realistically so, it was just like, you know, and we'll get to this where, you know, our whole story is going to revolve right to where you're going to tell us what you're doing now. So what I want to retract to is, when did you move to Arizona and then get to the big case?
Yeah,
because I got a couple things I want to read the people.
Well, yeah, no. So I'll tell you what it is. Okay, so once the heat's on me in the Escondido situation, you know, I dissolved ties with, I had money. So I left. I went to Cabo. I had a kid. And Tyler Anthony Branon, may he rest in peace. I lost him to gun violence right here in this city, Vista. Some deranged little punk shot him. And I went and had that beautiful child in Cabo. And then I moved back to the States and was in the area shortly. And his mom was doing okay then. I was taking care of everything, the house and everything. And I said, I need to get to Arizona because I was summoned there by one of the largest cartels, you know, down there, Rafa's people, you know, and I went and met up with them guys. I got myself a killer house in Paradise Valley. Like, I'm surrounded by football players and baseball players, and it's a great neighborhood. And so when I met them, I established an entire new avenue. They had the tunnel in Agua Prieta, the most advanced tunnel. And they started bringing me that Rafa can grow weed. If anyone's ever seen Mexican narcos, like, that dude's the shit, right? He knows how to. Back then, he was growing skunk weed outdoors and then putting it in silver Mylar bags and professional packing machines. And it was like the perfect storm. I found the perfect distributor. I found the perfect connection. And then I found the perfect buyers. One of my dear old friends introduced me to a guy, and these guys had money to buy 1 ton at a time cash, and I started moving skunk.
It's hard to say no, dude.
No, but I'm making good money, and now I'm getting 18 wheelers now. I have my own drivers. I have false walls, and I'm packing them things. And I'm talking, these trucks went through checkpoints with 1,500 pounds and didn't even hit the dogs because of the way I did.
It's a lot of weed too.
Yeah, and it's a lot of wrapping.
Pick up an 80-pound dumbbell and then times that by about 20.
Yeah, and it's like I started moving. I'm gonna kind of whiz through this, and I started moving a lot of weight over there, and then, but I was living in a city where nobody knew me now, you know, and I had all my houses in corporations, and my lawyer was laundering a shit ton of my money with me. Sheldon Sherman, he's dead. That's a good thing. And what happened was I got so much money. I'd made so much money. One of the cartel drivers, a really vicious rat named Rene Oliveras from down there in Tucson, and I'd found out because I'd run guys in my crew through the crime data, and I found out he'd been pulled over going into Mexico with over 10 grand in cash. And luckily, it wasn't like $1.5 million like I was giving him all the time. It was only like 26 grand, and he didn't tell anybody. And then I also found out he'd been pulled over after that with a 100-pound sample of weed. He doesn't tell anyone. This is a guy that's delivering the weed to me. You know what I mean? And what happened was, before I knew this, 2 months prior to where I ran him and found out that he had had police contact and didn't tell me, which is a big deal. Now I've got 3 houses over there. I got 2 beautiful homes I own. I got another one that's my workhouse. I got my crew working there. You know, they're packaging and setting 18-wheelers coming in. I own.
You got a full operation.
Oh man, I'm making $400,000 a truck in 30 minutes. I mean, I'm making I end up making so. Remember now, this guy's been pulled over twice, but 2 months before that, one of my workhouses that had like false walls in the garage, safe rooms. It was beautiful. He used to bring me weed there, and it was a workhouse that wasn't in any way linked to me. So at the time, it was one of my ex-girlfriend's fathers had it in his name. And so I said, look, I'm done with this house and I'm going to sell it. I had quick claimed the house into my attorney, Sheldon Sherman's name, out of that guy's name. And I told Sheldon, look, I'm going to sell it real quick. He goes, okay. This is when my lawyer had to start getting involved. Sheldon started laundering a lot of money for me with the lawyer-client trust accounts, you know, putting houses, quick claiming properties, playing the game, corporations. And now I've got a lot of money at that point. Like, I've made millions, and I'm done, and I want to retire. But 2 months before this happens, remember, I don't know this guy's been stopped yet. And he comes up and he saw a for sale sign at the house. And I was like, Renee's like, hey man, what's up with the house? I go, I'm selling it. He goes, man, I want to buy it. And I go, I don't really want the link between us, man, to nothing. He goes, well, it's not your name, is it? And I said, no. I said, I'll tell you what, he wanted it so bad because the safe rooms I had were sick, right? And anyway, long story short, I talked to the lawyer. He said, sell it to him, make sure he doesn't do anything. He goes, whose name's it going in? He said, his sister's, who doesn't even share his last name. She's married. And I go, okay, if you put it in your sister's name, you can buy it. So then he's like, well, look, man, can I get the keys a month early, man? I go, look, this has to be in your name, man. Do not do anything illegal in this house. Well, you know what happened. Fucking asshole didn't listen. Moved a load through there, picked up some heat. Next thing you know, my lawyer's getting called. The house gets kicked in. They throw concussion grenades in, and I had remodeled this entire house. That's how I was laundering my money. I'd buy a house for 500 grand and put 200,000 in cash and remodels and resell it for 800. Yeah, make it look like I'm a real estate genius. You know, like I just know how to buy houses. But anyway, when that happened,
that was
the link. The cops are now calling my attorney, whose house it's in, and he's asking who's renting it. This guy, they didn't find any drugs, but they found ledgers and burned up burlap sacks in the fireplace that he didn't completely burn.
Gotcha.
And so the heat was on. But I still, at that point, I didn't know that he had been stopped before this. And so I want to just smoke this dude. And I almost did. That's another story. But so that's when it unraveled. The DEA got a hold of Sheldon Sherman, and they said, well, we want to, talk to you about your tenant. And he's like, I don't know. He's just a guy I got referred to. Who referred to you? None of your business. He's being a stand-up lawyer at that point. But the heat's on him. And so So when that happens, I part ways with the guy. I say, hey, I'm done with you, man. Blah, blah, blah. And then I find out the other shit. And I'm already mad at him. I find out, damn, that dude's been fucking. So now I'm disassociating with this guy. I mean, I know he's got pending stuff going on. And I retire and I move and I don't tell him where I'm going. I said, I'm done. I tell my whole crew, hey, you guys, I'm done. You guys, we've all made money. I'm going to ride off in the sunset. And I did. I retired. And so I was investing my money, this and that. So one day, about a year and 9 months later, I'm driving down Shea Boulevard out to one of my killer pads out there. And fucking here he comes, right in his truck. He's at a light, and I look over, and he looks at me, and the only reason I talked to him was because it cost me $37,000 to repair. The DEA went in there. They didn't just throw concussion grenades to catch the house on fire. They fucking tore the appliances out, everything, looking for money and all that. So I saw him. I go, "Hey man, what's up?" He goes, "What's up?" And I go, "Hey, I don't know, man. What's up with you?" And he goes, "Man, I'm working, man. I'm still working." I go, "That's crazy, because I ran you and I know what the fuck you got." So, "Oh no, we cleared that up. That was nothing, man. That was just a sample, and the money was no big deal. I pleaded out. I'm on probation. Nobody knows." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." I go, "If you're working and doing so good, where's the 40 grand for my house that you destroyed?" "Oh man, no problem. I'll give it to you tomorrow." Next day, I go to meet him at a McDonald's in the morning, 7 o'clock, and I get there, and it's just the whole place is full of cops. DEA. They had just taken someone down. Well, guess who it was? It was him. And then they followed me out of the parking lot when I pulled up and pulled me over. Did not even know where I lived. And they pulled me in, tried to say, "Oh yeah, Renee's told us all about you, this and that." I said, "I don't even know what you're talking about." Me and my lawyer go back to get my Benz back. I'm driving a brand new S500, SEC fucking two-door coupe, bad 500S two-door coupe.
Yeah, those are gorgeous.
Badass cars, and I love that. Anyway, so they won't give me the car back. It's in someone else's name. They want to know what's up. I tell them, "Fuck you. I'm out of here." And about another 9 months goes by. I shake the country for a while. I come back. And they've already got a state prosecutor in Arizona that's gung-ho to indict me, and they're coming. And when he was there, that weed driver for the cartels, Rene Olivares, some of my crew and him ran into each other in a strip club, and they kept working. And so they all got busted. He got busted. And after that, they just, went to the feds in San Diego. They said, "We don't have any evidence on Branon. We're not going to indict him." So they passed. And this overzealous piece of shit, Billy Rosen, state prosecutor, they call her Billy the Bulldog Rosen. I've talked about this in many interviews. Just hits me with a shotgun indictment where they just splatter 1,000 charges at me: money laundering, weed, transportation, conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. And one day I'm driving with Trevor Christ, my boy, and I pull into the post office down in Encinitas, and they fucking, boom, they come out of everywhere. They didn't even know where I lived, because I had a really successful company, and I kept getting my business mail there. And so they grabbed me, and now I'm in San Diego County, and I'm like, why am I in county? I can't figure it out, because my cases are usually big, federal.
Yeah.
And they give me the green card, and I'm in the tank, and the bond's 170 grand, it looks like, but there's a bunch of fucking zeros behind it, and everyone thinks it's a typo because it's a marijuana case with no evidence. And it was 1,770,000. That chick went to a fucking grand jury like they do and got almost a $2 million bond on me. And so I'm in San Diego arguing with Sheldon Sherman, my lawyer, to reduce my bond in federal court. And they arrest him on the spot, open up indictment, blah, blah. Now my attorney's arrested for laundering all my money, and he has all my properties, everything linked to him through corporations in his name. Yes. And now the shit hits the fan. Now I get to Arizona. They OR him. They let him ride out. You know what he's going to do. And I get the bond reduced. I have to sit there for like a while, get an $800,000 bond. I posted, I'm out. When I'm out on bond, it just got really, really dirty, dude. Like, they were doing some of the most scandalous shit. Arizona is like unbelievable. And he's got Bob Hirsch, my lawyer does, biggest attorney in Tucson. And I got Larry Debus, did the Miranda case. He's the biggest lawyer in Scottsdale. And I got Tom Tinnis, the other biggest one over there. I'm going in with $250,000 paid lawyers going, man, go ahead, shoot your shot. And then it got ugly. They started, pressing me to roll, do this and that. And I'm telling him, fuck, never. On what? You didn't even catch me with any money, no phone call.
I know, you always use the phrase "a dry weed case."
It's a dry, there's no evidence, no money, no phone call, nothing. And I'm like, fuck you, let's go. And then the dirty games, calling my parents, threatening my parents, we're going to shake your house down. My mom's a saint. My dad's a military legend. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then they took my son Tyler's birth certificate, all of his papers. He was born in Mexico. I've now got full custody of Tyler. And I'm out on bond, and I'm living in Loma Santa Fe on the golf course at that time. And I'm like, and I call the DEA. I'm like, hey, man, can you guys like leave the women and children and family out of it? Like, I'm not rolling, man. Can I have my son's birth certificate? He's really shy. And I want to get him, I got to put him back in first grade. I just got him to get in there and be kind of acclimate. oh yeah, well, if we can find it. I'm like, man, you know right where the fuck it was, man. It was in the fucking. It was it gets me mad to even think about the shit they started doing. Then the prosecutor decided to put my bond back in the computer. I'm driving around one day, fucking cops pull me over, fucking, oh, guns. You got a $2 million bond? No, I don't. I paid it. Yeah, right. You know, just think.
Yeah, so you were just going through the rigmarole.
And it got to the point, man. And then, you know, now trials coming up.
Yep.
And they're playing games with me. And
well, let me just, Mark, I want to tell the people what, if you go on DEA.gov, this was a news release that you already know of. This is for the people, Mark, so they know how, you know, how extensive and gnarly it was. Drug dealer, this is news release for immediate release, August 27th, 03. Drug dealer draws 60 years in federal prison for drug trafficking and murder for hire. On August 26, 03, Mark David Branon was sentenced in federal court to 60 years in prison. A forfeiture of order of $3 million was ordered against him for his leadership role in a large-scale marijuana and money laundering ring operating between the United States and Mexico from 98 to 2000. In March of 02, while on bail, Branon contracted the killing of Arizona Assistant Attorney General Billy Rosen, who served as a lead prosecutor in Branon's case. In March of 02, the assassination attempt resulted in the shooting of Rosen's brother while inside the Rosen residence in the greater Phoenix area. Rosen's brother was severely wounded in the assassination attempt, but has since recovered. During sentencing, Assistant Attorney General Billy Rosen said, "This was a crime not just against my brother and myself, but against the entire criminal justice system." Steve Logan, the federal prosecutor, tried the case, asked the judge for the maximum prison sentence as a message to crooks who consider killing police and prosecutors. SAC Errol J. Chavez remarked, "Today's sentencing reminds a message to those who stalk or kill members of the law enforcement community will be pursued relentlessly and brought to justice." Branon had also been indicted on federal charges in San Diego. Now, this was well over 20 plus years ago, but how they love to paint things up as well.
Look, man, this is what happened. I mean, I tried to get my prosecutor changed, and this is important to the story.
Right.
And my lawyers are the best lawyers you can get. And that my lawyer, Larry Debus, said, "Mark, she hates you. You're a good-looking dude at the time." Maybe not now. "You're a good-looking dude. You got a beautiful wife. You are a bit arrogant. And she's not getting off your case, and she's asking for the max." So right before trial comes up and all these dirty games are being played, she files for a serious drug offender statute on me. Mandatory life in prison in Arizona. And then you're going to the fucked up places. You're going down to the SMUs with that kind of sentence.
Yeah.
So, you know, some shit happened, man. I mean, her house got lit up. You know, her brother got blown off her computer. She had just switched seats with him. And he was, you know, could look like her through the blinds pulled down. I mean, whatever. I don't want to act like, because they still to this day have, you know, said I've never said who did it, you know.
Right.
But one of the guys that was allegedly involved testified against me in open court and got me life, you know, almost 60 years. But the thing that saved my life, and this is God at work, the thing that saved my life was when they gave me 30 years for use of a firearm and a crime of violence with a silencer. It's a 924C federal charge, because the audience would be like, well, how's he out? And I got 30 years for the weed. So that's 30, it's 60 years running wild. That means you got to do it all. 20 years into my sentence, I'm in Beaumont Penitentiary SHU, and I did all the toughest pens. I mean, you name it, I've been to them, and broke the record on transfers from the hole for sure. And I'm in the hole at Beaumont. A new case had come through, the Johnson case. It morphed into the DeMaya case and ended up in the Lamont Davis case. And that struck the 924C clause of the crime of violence. And because it said I was convicted of conspiracy based on that guy's testimony, they couldn't say I shot. They said I drove him there, and I was convicted on conspiracy to commit the murder. Well, they struck the conspiracy clause of the 924C crime of violence because it said any crime that creates a substantial potential risk of harm to another. Vague, and there was an elements issue with it. It got struck, and so many guys in federal prison, arguably the most dangerous, got their convictions overturned. So when I went back for resentencing, the judge was like, because it wasn't just that shooting. They caught the shooters that they say did the prosecutor in Sheldon Sherman's house, because he flipped on me right before trial. He flips. My lawyer calls me. He goes, "Your chances of winning were 80-20. Now they're 80-20 their way. Your lawyer just flipped." And Sheldon's living in Penasquitos, and I'm living in Rancho Santa Fe out on bond. Well, the shooters go to his house repeatedly. They end up catching him on the third time there. He's not there. And neighborhood watch calls, they catch two guys with ski ropes, masks, and guns. Because Sheldon was going for a ride, it looked like, you know. So I got another charge, murder for hire, on him. The jury hated him so much that when that dude testified against me in open court, the jury thought he was such a slime ball that they found me innocent of that charge. They acquitted me of that charge. And it was a total message because there was a ton of evidence on that one. Like, fuck, I mean, arguably I was guilty. So now I'm in prison. I mean, I'm doing the most, man. Like, I'm going to high-level yards, dude. Like, I started at Atwater, and as soon as I get to Atwater, guess what? Maricopa County re-indicts me on the shooting on the state charge. Now I'm going to Maricopa County Jail, Joe Arpaio's worst fucking jail on the planet.
Yeah.
And I do 2 years there, end up making them plead me out. They want me to flip. I'm telling them, and it's been on other podcasts I've interviewed for.
If you guys never heard of Joe Arpaio, the famous sheriff in Arizona, but it was just, you're out there, you're all wearing pink. Right?
Yeah, you're wearing pink. Like, they have the chain gangs, but that's for lower custody. I would never be allowed out of the building to work on a gang like that. And it's like they're feeding you a Ladmo sack, meaning a paper sack with a rotten bologna sandwich, some fruit in the morning, no lunch, and then donated slop in the evening. Like the worst gruel you've ever seen. And there's like, I was there for 2 years fighting this case. And I ended up making such a scene in the courtroom. I told the judge, look, I'm not turning on nobody, man. I said, I'm not here to snitch. And I'm already doing 60 years of this thing in the feds. And he goes, you are? He didn't even know that I was already doing this time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, Your Honor. I said, I got nothing to lose. I'm not pleading to nothing. So it was a big old scene in the courtroom.
Was that your final point where you know, okay, the final ride or the final speed bumps in the road are over? I know how much time I'm doing, and I'm going to ride it out until some...
I had life, but the thing is my PI, Bob Owens, has been working it's newtimes.com, Lord of the Lies. Pull it up. It's all over the computer, 5-part series. My private eye, Bob Owens, Robert Sean Owens, was a working informant for the government. The whole time he's sharing an office with my attorneys. He's testifying, setting up his clients while he's representing them. It's the biggest breach of lawyer-client privilege you'll ever see. And so, I mean, this scumbag is like invincible. The Arizona won't indict him because they're all crooked with him. They've been working with him,
right?
It's been
run with impunity, basically.
Yeah, and I'm not just some old convicted felon crying about it. Nah, it's been written about. I should have had my whole case overturned. They held a closed hearing and fired my $250,000 law team in a closed hearing without me there. 4th, 5th, 14th Amendment, or 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment violation. Fired my whole law team and then sealed the record. I'm locked down in the hole of CCA waiting for trial. And they're like, yeah, we're not your lawyers no more. I'm all, huh? Oh, you'll find out. What? You don't give me no money back. Like the book is like so gnarly. Like I'm having legal analysts, and I'm getting a ghostwriter to help me. I've been writing it because there's so much there. It's just, I've met with Mel Gibson twice. Yeah. He loved me, man. He's cool, man. I went to his church.
He's a cool cat.
But I'm blowing it up on social media. Like I've got this, well, before I do that, anyway, so I win the case in Beaumont. I'm in Beaumont's shoe where I'm always at in the hole, and I finally get my decision. I win. I fought it for 3.5 years, and I win the case. I get resentenced. I beat the shooting. And I go back, and the judge maxes me out on the weed, gives me 27 years. This was only 3 years ago. That's when weed was legal already in 26 states. Or medicinally legal, or totally legal. And we argued the point. And she said, well, we know, and my lawyer argues, he goes, Your Honor, it's just a marijuana case. Sean Perez, just a marijuana case. She looks at him, this isn't just a marijuana case. Right. We know Mr. Branon had the prosecutor hit. He had his shooters in Sheldon Sherman's backyard waiting for him to come home to murder him. And who knows what else he was up to. I mean, like a lot of the DEA had moved their families. Like people didn't know. Nobody had a clue I had anything to do with that shooting on the prosecutor. I'm literally going to court cases after she gets hit. Hey, mister, I don't know if you heard, there was an incident at the prosecutor's house. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And we're going to have, and that's all I wanted was new counsel, man. I mean, fuck. And after that happened.
Well, fair shot.
After that happened, there's a guy who wrote a book, Rescued, Not Arrested. I've had people come up. He talks about how I saved his life because she was a prosecutor that was so out of bounds. It's prosecutorial misconduct, but they are never held accountable. never for what they do.
Yeah.
And
They
you know it.
rarely are.
And like, look at the one that went after Trump. What did Trump say about that prosecutor? They are evil, incarnate, disgusting, corrupt, devil, demonic. Like the way Trump like defined his prosecutor that was coming after him. I mean, it just shows you, man, it's not just one guy saying it. And I would have signed a plea, 8 to 10 years. You didn't catch me with anything. Okay, whatever, I'll do the time. No, I didn't never get an option for that. And when I won that, I overturned my case and I came home. I ended up walking down. I did 21 and a half inside and a year and a half in a halfway house in LA, 15 months. But after all this stuff, I have a mission now.
Right. So
and that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah. Because, you know, you guys can check out Mark, Dago Mark, on a lot of different platforms, and much is to come still with his insane story. But most importantly, Mark, also, I want to kind of talk about the shift in the paradigm where you were sitting in the cell and got that news. And I know because I've been there, not at your level, but when you're already down on your luck, so to speak. Now we're staying strong. You know, for me, it's like I always have my faith in God and I'm working out, and we have our program in there.
Likewise.
We got to do. But I remember getting the news that, you know, family member had passed away. It was my grandfather, and you can't do nothing about it.
I was in the hole in Big Sandy when my son was murdered.
Which is, a
and
dark place to be.
It's like, it took me a long time to even talk about it. Like I did the Integrity podcast with Red Shea, and they had to stop filming, like, because he said, how exactly did it happen? And I don't really like to discuss all the details.
Yeah.
But yeah,
feel free to, you and I had talked about it, and, you know, you're going to be on plenty more shows and podcasts, and Lord willing, a cool movie. But tell us what you want to tell us about it, but also tell us where that shift in your heart changed, where you had to be brought to your knees.
About the shooting, I mean, I kind of just, it was over a fist fight in high school. 4 Asian kids jumped on my son's cousin. My son jumped in to help. It was nothing but a fist fight. 4 years later, they come back to his cousin's house in Vista to shoot him. And on a gang initiation, one of the guys that was in that fight, and my dear son was there exchanging gifts because he had moved out on his own. He's 21 now. And the guy was out front waiting for his cousin. And when my son walked out, he shot him 3 times in the chest. And, I can tell you this, he killed the wrong person's son. Okay, that's all I'll say about that. But anyway, he's just a piece of shit. But anyway, and that kind of segues into what I'm doing. I was in a lot of prisons and I was running in a big circle in there. They have me validated. I'm not going to talk about it. Anyone that knows what validated means knows what that is.
Yeah.
Watch Shot Caller, you'll see it. And I'm running around in like the gnarliest circles, putting in that work, and doing good things, protecting my race, making peace with others. I'm very close in there with like a lot of good men, man. I don't, every race, but I'm really close to the Sureños, the Islanders,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the West Coast blacks, Crips and Bloods, I know, good men. A lot of different types of style of dudes when you get to the East Coast, man, like some of the things they're doing. And, just deviant stuff in there. And I don't get close to them. But, after my son, the loss of him and the gift of being given back my life and coming home, and Donald Trump, when he passed the First Step Act, Jared Kushner's program, his son-in-law did, got me another year and a half off. And that's what he's the only one that's ever done anything for us, for real. And that got me to where I only had to do 21 and a half inside on a 27-year sentence, and then another 15 in the halfway house. So I really had to pull over 23 on 27.
Right.
So anyways, that's for the audience. I did another podcast, and some, these trolls, oh yeah, how did he get out? Man, shut up, man. I just explained it, People want to insinuate things like, man.
Yeah, there's all, you're never.
My marketing team's like, dude, don't read those things. But I got a lot of really good responses. But my thing now is,
how long you been out, Mark? And then tell us what you're doing now.
I did 15 months in a halfway house in LA, which was insane to come out of that prison and be dropped.
Probably worse.
They first put me in South Central, which was a shooting gallery. And then I got transferred to this place called Vinewood, which was on Western and Sunset, which is like the whole streets full of people using fentanyl and whores and, you know, just
Yeah.
disgusting, you know, and I
It's
was
like a movie set.
yeah, and I was lucky I made it out of there. I mean, I did get into some things up there, luckily I
That
didn't get
happens.
caught. But
Nobody's perfect.
yeah, you come out of prison and you got guy. I had somebody one day roll up like, "Hey, what's in your pocket?" And I said, "Bitch, if you only knew, man." I said, "You go to someone else, man. Like you're not getting nothing from me, man." And
Yeah.
you know, like it's just it was like walking through the valley of the shadows. You know, I mean, of death. You know, it's just it was gnarly, man. It was just nothing like prison. I mean, prison was fucking berserk, man.
Yeah.
Like the way I lived it.
I tell
I got a lot
people-
of scars, man, in my arms and my face. I mean, I've been in some wars, but and I would like to say the mistreatment in there is legendary. I actually started a riot in Lewisburg's SMU program, legendary prison, the one they filmed Goodfellas in. It's a SMU program, special management unit for us guys that go hard. And they were just mistreating the prisoners so bad that I boarded up, and 75 of my white boys went with me, and we blew that place up, caught it on fire. They had the National Guard out front. The mistreatment in prison is unbelievable, what these guys are getting away with in there, not giving you your rec. And I did 11 years in the hole. I mean, I didn't do like candy time. And I was at every penitentiary from Atwater, Victorville, Hazleton, Beaumont, Lee County, Canaan, Hazleton, you name it. I've been in them, and Big Sandy, I mean, name them. And it's like, it's just so consistent now. You never get out of your cell. They always say they're short staffed. They always have a reason not to do their job.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember the short staff one. You're like, just hoping to get some sunlight or anything.
And you know what? And then we're short of staff. And then some dude like stabs his cellie in the cell, and 30 cops come running out from the back. You're like, short of staff? I can't tell. But anyway, to get on a positive note, I've got the best marketing team. I got this guy, Brian Colcott, and he's really good at what he does. He's, I just did the Red Shade podcast, Integrity, good guy. I did Hoodstock when I first got out. Of course, I did Fresh Out. And I did Spectrum. I did that show, and I'm about to do the White Underbelly. But I'm getting my own platforms, and I'm doing something. I'm doing a community course that's amazing, because I'm going to teach people how I did it. Having your own son murdered when you're in the isolation block, lockdown, so much loss, my wealth, everything. I mean, they got it. My lawyer gave it to them.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a community course, and it's called Thriving the Impossible. And I've been filming it, and I'm going to go back and film it again today. And it's an amazing course. And I tell people my style of dealing with this, my program, what I did when I was in the hole, from getting up in the morning early. You get up, you get your little sack through those tray, through the tray slot, meditate, breathe in all the good, just find positivity, breathe out all that poison like locusts, get my meditation in, eat my food, start stretching, go right into my workout. As you know, endorphins are your friends.
Saved my life.
Save my life. Anybody like us, like you're a fitness animal, like, and I'm right there with you. And, and then,
it's medicine, man. I don't even care how it was going to make me look. It's how it made me feel.
Yeah, man. And then once you do that, you're in the room. And I read 900 books when I was in the hole.
Yeah.
I'm hooked on historical fiction, Saxon Tales, Genghis Khan. I read so many books, man, that it just really touched me in certain ways, but in my community course, my goal is to help people who I want to help veterans. I want to help children whose parents have been taken away by the justice system. And I want to help kids that have been through CST, child sex trafficking. That I saw the movie The Sound of Freedom, man.
Oh, yeah.
And
big love to Tim Ballard. What an amazing human.
Mel worked on that. And,
yeah.
And he told me to watch it. And
it's a heavy one, man.
Man, it's just.
If you guys haven't seen Sound of Freedom, true story.
Yeah.
About human trafficking, it's heavy.
Just, and I tell you what, and I'll tell the audience, and everybody knows that I put my work in on them sex offenders in there. And like when they came to one of my yards,
that's how I caught my last case.
Yeah,
put a little work in on someone's forehead.
Yeah, we slaughtered some good ones.
I don't look at as a Christian, two wrongs don't make a right. But I also believe that God, we're all going to become accountable for our actions. But I believe if you've harmed women or children, you're going to have a special conversation with God.
Well, and I mean, those are the priority targets in prison, number one. And the messed up thing is like the feds coddle to them, and, they give them USP Tucson, and, and so that's their yard. It's like a really nice pen. It's got all new stuff. Nothing's too good for the sex offenders. But if you sell weed, we're going to bury you if you don't snitch. And the reason I never snitched is because I'm not a snitch. But number two, I couldn't imagine. I told them in court, how am I going to tell my parents and all my family, like, you guys got to go on witness protection because your son, who's been balling like a rock star for all these years, got caught and now he can't hold his mouth. So y'all got to go in hiding. Like, there was no option ever for me to do that. And for the record, I saved all my forensic trial, like my crew, and I've seen them and talked to them all since I've been out. These dudes are free, thankful, and you know what? And so I can look in that mirror and know who I am.
Yeah.
You know, but doing my course, you know, I'm at DagoMark_619. You know, that's my Instagram, Facebook, all of that. And my stuff's going to be impactful. When I was recording it, the marketing team was like, wow, man, they didn't know I do that voiceover thing. You know, I don't just sit around and talk like a convict all day. And I mean every word I say in it, and I'm good at it. And I'm going to show people like how to get through some bad stuff, man. I mean, I'm so behind our veterans, man. We sent $300 billion to Ukraine to fight a war we shouldn't even be in. But when our veterans come home, every single one of them that's injured should have a house given to them. They should have a pension.
Oh yeah, when you look how much money's gone to these foreign countries,
man. Not only that, people that come here illegally, they want to give them all kinds of health care and money.
I can't.
And look, now I know that's
taking care of Americans and our veterans.
Yeah, man. And you know what, man? Like, yeah, I am all about this current government going after the bad ones. I am all about them making people come here legally. Unfortunately, I do believe that there are some people that are getting caught up in this, and it's sad. Women and people have moved here. Their children are 10 to 18 years old. They've been here their whole life. Yeah. And I think they should be given some consideration. But, you know, I'm Irish.
Thank God that's out of our hands.
Yeah. And, you know, it's just a crazy thing to see this divided world and this government. But when Donald Trump mentioned that there will be no more girls having to compete against boys and women's sports and having their hearts broken by these men that are like ruining their life's goals. Like, there's certain things that you just can't like say that is blatantly a bad thing, you know? Yeah. And for anyone giving, they're arguing states now are still pushing to try and get youth sex changes, 14-year-old kids. And it's like without their parents' consent. Like, I'm very strongly against that. I don't care if you're gay, if whatever you are, like, as long as you live your life and you don't have to transport it all over to us in the public. Just be yourselves, man. And I'm cool. I live and let live, man. I'm right in the middle of a lot of stuff. Like, my views are going to come out of my podcast, but like I said, I don't discriminate. I didn't teach my son to be a bigot, and I'm not, you know. And prison where I was at was extremely divided. And so you can't help but to be a little bit like that in there. But
yeah, well, that's just the way the system is.
Either that or you get eaten alive. So, you know what it is.
Well, the Lord says, render to Caesar what is Caesar, but render to God what's God. So God doesn't want you to inevitably put yourself in harm's way. We're going to have to pay taxes and abide by laws that we might not like, but it is what it is for survival.
And there are some very good, I mean, look, I've dealt with some pretty crooked, bad police, but man, overall, I'm about the police, man. Like, yeah, our parents, our elders, even us, you know, our children, you know.
Right there. I got a great rapport with Carlsbad PD too. I went to high school with a lot of them.
Absolutely.
And they're humans just like us, and they deal with a lot of the same stuff that our families do.
There's some good people in law
enforcement.
Divorce,
drug addiction, alcoholism.
Yeah, man.
You know, no one's impervious to the ism. It'll come for you. It doesn't matter what your job is and who you are, you know.
But you know, I just want, you know, it's really fun to come home, and I've run into some of my boys, you know. I'm kind of shocked. Like, there are some people that were in my life, and I had houses everywhere. And when you were with me, it's like, here's the keys to the house. Stay there all you want. You know, just pay the maid. You know, come to Vegas. I got 6 rooms, all the dope and the whores you want. And a lot of these guys, none of them reached out to me. It's like, I just laugh. It's like, you fuck boys were never my friend anyway.
No,
like, you know,
it was all transactional.
Yeah, I had the best friends money could buy, you know. But you know,
best friends money.
Yeah, but I have a handful of dudes that I've known my whole life. I can really say I counted them yesterday.
Yeah,
I have 5 people I can consider my friend.
Yeah, that's all you need, man.
And now you're a new one.
Amen. Likewise, brother.
I already know, man.
Well, you guys heard it here first. Mark's gonna be I'm stoked he came and did my podcast, in the sense of not only does it have just an amazing story, but he's getting ready to blow up. And the fact that he took time out of his day and everything he's going through is an honor and a privilege, Mark. You're
Likewise.
always in my prayers.
Thank you.
Give everyone the course that's coming out and all your handles real quick.
Thriving the Impossible is going to be my community course. It's going to be a course it creates a group where we do a once a week Zoom. I'm filming I'm going right back right now to film the steps in my class and the steps to successfully getting through the worst depression, anxiety, and I want to, just help. I want to help, man. All in Tyler's name and my mother and father's name and God's name. I just want to be the best person I can be. I don't need to have 10 cars and 10 houses anymore. I'm good, man. I'm and I want to really, like I say, I'm passionate about helping veterans, children whose parents are locked up, and children who have been sex trafficked. I think is the most horrible crime in the world. So I'm all about positivity. Let's go.
Right on, Mark. Well, God bless you, you guys. Pros and Cons Podcast, episode 13. Mark Branon, we out. This is the Pros and Cons Podcast.